Welcome to Women's Health Unwrapped with Nicola Farndell, a weekly show dedicated to empowering women to unlock the secrets of true health and vitality. Join us as we unwrap what healthy living really means with guest experts and real-life stories to help you get clear on the power of building sustainable, healthy habits without the overwhelm and confusion you feel right now. It's time to strip back and lay out the truth about why taking better care of yourself is the answer to the happy, vibrant life you're striving so hard to create. Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Women's Health Unwrapped. I'm joined today by Marilyne Whitty, who is a career wellness coach. And Marilyne has a 20 plus year career as a HR professional. And Marilyne knows from her own journey, some of which she's going to share, why it's so important to find that balance between work and wellness. And something that I think we can all resonate with is how much time we spend at work and how easy it is for work to become our life. And as Marilyne says, there's an unspoken rule that growing your career means having to sacrifice your health. And I certainly know from my experience that that was the case. And from lots of people I've spoken to and worked with and are friends with, this is a very familiar story and possibly one that you can associate with yourself, maybe from the current point that you're at in your life or sometime during your career. So we're going to dive into all things work and wellness and how to build a career and go to work to make sure that you are being fulfilled, not just professionally, but personally as well. So welcome to the podcast, Marilyne.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So Marilyne and I have known each other for a while through a wellness and health coaching program that we've both been a part of. So it's great to be able to have this conversation with you because I know some of your story and I know that you've been on quite a journey yourself, which we'll start to unwrap. But just to kick us off, I'd love to know a little bit about your most impactful healthy habit and how that supports you to have strong health and well-being at the moment.
My most impactful healthy or wellness habit has definitely been movement, exercise. That is been key to keeping me on track, to making me feel good, to getting me to where I'm at right now. And that's really what I emphasize a lot with the clients that I work with. It's movement is everything. There's just so much to gain out of exercising and movement. So all for the full range from walking daily to exercising frequently.
What's your favorite type of exercise to do at the moment?
Honestly, walking has been from when I started on this journey in 2021. It's been the constant, and I find it's low impact. Everybody can do it. I've been struggling with finding ways to meditate and all that, and I have now discovered how to do it while I'm walking, embracing like the trails near my house where there's a lot of nature. So as much as I love strength training and all kinds of physical activity, sports and all that, walking has the most meaningful, most impact in my life. And it's just so versatile. It's always there. It's always an option and always feels good. So that's my go-to. Yeah.
Brilliant. And it is good if you have some nature close by and you're able to just walk from your house and feel as though you're out in real nature. Fantastic. So let's start with your story and kind of how you came to a point of realizing that you were sacrificing your health for your job and career.
Well, I've always been very career driven. So my lifelong goals were build a strong career and a family. And fortunately, I was feel successful in doing both. But that didn't go without its share sacrifice. And I want to say too, it's like I think as a person, we are actually choosing how much time and energy we're investing in our careers. And I was, if I wasn't with my kids or my family, it was all about work. And even at that, work did impede on time with family. So back in 2021, was kind of a peak, kind of a turning point for me because I could no longer perform to the level that I wanted to at work because I had migraines that were so debilitating. I couldn't really focus or work as long as I wanted. I had a lot of physical pain. And then I was speaking with my doctor and looking at ways to manage the chronic pains and looking at medication and other treatments, and the medication had a lot of side effects and things like that. So it just seemed to be getting worse. One of which was like brain fog and things like that. And I'm like, well, I need my head for work. So it was always about work. And then I was sent to do some CT scan and MRIs, and that's where it really hit me, sitting in the waiting room for MRIs to get in that big machine to see if there was actually something really, really wrong, causing all this pain. At that point, I was walking into the room, and they had given me garments to put on, and they didn't fit. I could barely fit my body in it, and that was the biggest size they had available. My wedding rings wouldn't come off. It got really swollen trying to take it off. And I'm in the waiting room, and that's where it crashed on me. I'm like, oh, this is not a healthy person. At that time, I'm 37, and I said, this is not what I want to be for my kids. This is not the life I want. And it's the first time I put obese to my weight as well. So I was quite overweight at the time. And so went into that machine. The vibration gave me the worst migraine of my life. And I recovered from that. And then I decided to make a change. And it was just the start of a very, it was all in at that point, and it was a lot of self-discovery and a lot of but dedicated to the outcome of getting healthy in every sense of the word. So that meant a lot. And then here I am. So 10 months in, I got to lose the weight. So 90 pounds in 10 months, and did it as healthy as possible, followed by medical practitioners, embraced exercise, continued to work on my career, but that meant actually putting in different boundaries. That was hard for me. It wasn't imposed by my employer, but it was hard for me to put those boundaries. And it's been a learning curve since then. But so now I'm maintaining for over 2 years, and I'm now feeling compelled to help others. I was quite, I felt a lot of shame throughout the process of letting myself go to that point. And then when I started to talk about it and post on my own personal social media, talking about close friends and stuff, there was a lot of encouragement, and people starting to talk to me and saying, how did you do it? I've been wanting to do it for a long time. And some people were mentors of mine, people I admired, like in the HR management world, and like they were leaders, and I wanted to be just like them, but they were also very dedicated to work. And through these conversations that I noticed I could have an impact doing different kind of work. So then I wanted to find a voice, started to record some episodes on YouTube to get some information out there to document it. And also now looking back, I was always wondering, like, why was this time possible for me? And I looked deep down, and I everything pointed back to the fact that I had gone through a very meaningful coaching experience. It was leadership coaching, but I got to self-discovery, self-compassion, really understanding, myself and what I could bring. So it brought me confidence that I feel was the foundation of me being able to finally do the changes I needed to do for my wellness.
Yeah, and it's such a transformation to have gone through. I mean, to lose that amount of weight is huge in its, on its own, and that's a fantastic achievement. And as you said, you've gone about it in such a strategic way, like really making sure it was the right way and that it's sustainable as well, and you've reaped the benefits of that. So thinking about how you were when you got to that point of needing a scan because of the migraines, and realizing how unhealthy you were, how much do you think that your job and career contributed to reaching that point?
Yeah, that's actually the biggest learning. So thank you for bringing it up, because that was kind of the huge realization, because it wasn't a tumor or anything bad. So we found out that it was musculoskeletal, so basically posture and strain from starting from the neck, so upwards. So stress was it creates this hunching motion. I feel my stress in my neck and shoulders, in my posture. So being hunched over the computer or for many, many hours, the lack of movement, the lack of strength in my back, all contributed to it. So the irony in this was that I started looking into my wellness journey because of work, because the headaches were preventing me from the work, but the work was inherently creating the aches and pains. So that is the biggest learning here. And when I realized that, you know, it, it's a cycle, right? So I couldn't be great at my work because I was working too much or stress was impacting me in such a way. So yeah, definitely that was the highlight of
Mm,
the whole story. Thanks for bringing that up because it's the learning, it's the irony of it all.
exactly. And that's the irony, is that it's the same for so many people, in that we work so hard to prove ourselves, to maybe, continue stepping up the ladder and, increasing our salary and earning potential and having more recognition and success. Or maybe it's about just maintaining the income that you're on and knowing how much you need that for your family. So we work really hard, but then that costs us what it is we're working for, which is to enjoy the salary and the success or the stability, whatever it is for you that your job and career means. And so many people feel, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this, don't realize that, because you are just on that hamster wheel that is often referred to, where you're in that go, 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 do, do, do. It's Monday, get up, go to work, go through the week, breathe on Friday kind of thing. And you aren't ever really in a place where you're either giving yourself a pause to think about how you feel and whether you're happy and enjoying the way life is, or you're then forced to do that like yourself because something happens and you are pushed to have to go, oh, I can't cope with this anymore. And, how is it, do you think that we don't voluntarily reach that pause point in our lives? Many of us anyway.
Yeah. And now that was part of like my mission, is like people shouldn't be in so much pain that they have to hit a wall to do something about it. And the statistics shows it too, like that most people that will do a drastic change, like for their health, it's because something woke them up or something bad happened. And I'm like, there's gotta be a better way. And you're right, like the cost that we're paying is that you don't notice, right? Because everything's progressive. So the pain is progressive and we build a tolerance to it. And I'm willing to assume here that most viewers and most people in your 40s and up, like you have some level of physical pain and that we endure, and our brain just kind of thinks it's okay because, and then it's gradual. So I didn't know how bad I felt until I felt good. And that's what, like, it's so hard to explain to people on how that, like, how much you're sacrificing. And plus, like, the research on longevity and hormone health as you age and things like that. Like, there's just so much to say about that. But I mean, there's so much to unpack as well, because we talk about people are doing the best that they can. Everyone watching this are doing I truly believe you're doing the best that you can. And yes, it's time, like the time is a problem, but it's the pressure and all these responsibilities that gets you pulled in different direction where they require attention right now. So to revert back to your adding new healthy habits and rethinking and doing that pause, like you're saying, it requires something, it requires something to trigger that. So I'm hoping that by speaking about it, it gets people to pause and say, oh, maybe like I can get better. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time. It doesn't have to be another thing on my to-do list. It doesn't mean that I have to change jobs or reduce anything family wise. It can be harmonized. It absolutely has to be in order to have a nice, fulfilling life.
I know through my story how I felt in my job, but although I knew that I was struggling and that I was stressed and that there were parts of the job which were highly demanding and not aligned to what I wanted, at that time, in terms of speaking, for example, I absolutely dreaded that. And so there was a lot of extra anxiety laid on top of the stresses of the job itself, from a practical point of view. And then when the pandemic hit and I went into full-time working from home, the job was still as busy and stressful, but without the commute to work, without the travel across the country to London most weeks and nights away from home and other things, chatting with people in the office, which was a nice part of being with people, but also then ate into the productivity time that you had in the day and so on. And I had this awakening of, oh my God, this is why I am so stressed, because I feel really stressed and anxious sitting here in my own home 5 days a week without all of the travel and the in-person pressure that I felt came on top of me. And it isn't really that much better. But I don't think I would have realised that had that pandemic not given a bit of a slowdown and change in some respects, or unless I'd reached a health crisis point, like we say, happens sadly to a lot of us. That's the only time we realise that. But I wasn't in a position that I knew how to change that or felt I had an option, because I needed that salary. We had financial commitments that I had, responsibility for, and had to earn that type of salary for. And so I didn't have a way out, but I knew something had to change. And I think I manifested the redundancy almost because, that was there in my way to escape that situation, because I knew I couldn't go back to life the way it was pre-pandemic. I didn't have an answer, but I knew for my own health and sanity and happiness that that just wasn't going to be possible. But so many people are in that situation I was in, where you don't have an exit strategy or option available because of the financial requirement of what your salary brings in, do you? So as you said, we do need to help people to have that awareness, but also to then take action to become strong enough. I think first of all, it's that mental strength, isn't it, of knowing you can be responsible for making it better without necessarily, or initially anyway, changing anything in the job itself. Maybe that will follow as part of that harmonization and balancing. So how do you help people to start that process when they do feel like we both have, where you are just so busy with the job and know that it's a struggle to keep going day after day after day?
Yeah. You said something that was interesting, like it's that whole notion of not understanding your options, not understanding that there is a way out or things. And because of my extensive HR background, I've seen and I've been very experienced on the inside of the workforce. I think one of the challenges is definitely understanding how to ask for what you need, understanding what you need to begin with, and knowing the signs of the progress, like how you're progressing towards kind of hitting that wall. So I know like burnout gets a lot of discussions, or a lot of like it's popular topic. But I mean, I've learned that there's just so many versions of it and things like that. So, what's hard with the work is sometimes, and I've been on the other side in HR saying, okay, if that employee had only spoken to us, or spoken to its manager, or expressed how they were feeling, we could have made some preventative kind of changes, or we could have explored options. But often the employee, or even especially leaders, which is primarily people I work with, they feel the need to solve all the issues, and they feel the need to, take care of other people and other things. So all of a sudden, if they hit like it's a bit further gone. So part of what I'm trying to accomplish as well is helping people seeing those signs that something's not quite right, and seeing that there are possible options within your workplace, and how to communicate without feeling like you're a poor performer, or things of being scared of any negative impact on your work. So it's hard. Like high performers have really high expectations. And that's the thing too, is like I had to learn that too. You can't be operating at 100% all the time. It's not realistic. Our brains are wired a certain way. I've done a certification training on neuroscience to understand how the brain functions, and how it handles stress, and how it handles. And it turns out the research show we can only do cognitive work, like deep work, for 4 to 6 hours a day. But most leaders are in meetings back to back, going from one task to the next, and for long, long hours. And so when you constantly pushing your body and your brain to do things that it wasn't really supposed to handle, then exhaustion comes, right? So, and deviate a little bit, but it's helping people understand what they're experiencing is normal, and understand that that there is an issue, so that you can get some help before it's too late. And that's the key too, right? We don't have to handle it all on our own. I didn't do
Mm.
my transformation on my own. I had experts. I leaned on experts the whole way. And I think that really made me successful. So yes, I had a coach before, but then I had, I've worked with a kinesiologist throughout, still do, for personal training sessions and kinesiology appointments, physio. I've done nutritionist. My medical practitioner was following me for my migraines and all that. So there's no shame in going and get support and help. And then psychologist, of course, one of the most important. So I did seek therapy because where I was at, I was not in a good place at all. So yeah, all that to
Mm.
say, it's hard. And if anybody can really relate of like that struggle of even putting words to what it is you're struggling with, because we tend to want to say, no, I'm fine, things are fine. You can be doing better than fine, you can be doing good, you can feel good.
Yeah. And we deserve to feel that, don't we? Because as we said at the start, we spend, most of us anyway, the majority of our lives actually working. And, here in the UK, the retirement age has gone up and up for women. It used to be 60 for my mum, her generation. My retirement age now is 68. What is it in Canada? What age are you expected to work to?
Well, it varies. So there's like the age for like this what the government covers is
Hmm.
going up as well, and I think 68 is coming. I think it's still 65, but it's in the works.
Yeah.
And yeah, so people are working later, and what we're seeing too is people coming back from retirement to work
Mm.
again. So there's there's definitely pressures there, but we're also seeing the pandemic was interesting for those stats. There's a lot of people that decide to retire around that time because of the shift. You said that there was, so right now the data is a little bit more confusing to interpret, but yeah, it's going up for sure too here.
Yeah. And because we are living longer, although we're not necessarily living longer in great health, which is the problem,
Yes.
many people, for whether it's financial reasons or the fact that they're just not ready to not work, they still feel that they've got a lot of value and that they maybe have a purpose that they want to continue supporting and, having an impact against. They want to continue working. And so, we have to have that balance because of that massive role our jobs, careers, if your job is a career, has in our overall life and life story. And I think what we've just touched on with regard to the first point being you recognizing how you're feeling and finding ways to check in with yourself so that you can have that awareness and then think about what your responsibility is to try to make some positive changes. That's where we all need to start, really. And I think, like I shared from my story, many of us, if not the majority, aren't doing that because we are just caught on that hamster wheel of going to work and trying to keep everything up in the air as well as what we can. So when you have reached that point of recognizing that you are struggling and that things need to shift and you don't have good balance, I guess there's two sides. One is there's a responsibility of the organization and the culture, which I know we haven't got time to dive right into today, but I think a lot of people assume that's the answer is, well, the company needs to do something. This is just the way it is. They haven't got good tools or they haven't got enough staff or they're always piling on more pressure. So there's that element. But we know, being in this space, that the individual employee is as much responsible as the company, if not more so, to speak up and to take action to support themselves. And that's a big part of what you do. So what would that kind of start with? What would the balance of work life be, that harmony that you talked about? How should that look in an ideal world for someone?
Yeah, there's a lot that we can explore on this. So that the concept of work life harmony. And I've shied away from using even the word balance because balance makes it look like it's so delicate and you move something and then it's frail. So I'm trying to to create that picture of harmony and where you can navigate the ebbs and flows or synergy as well. The thing is this old concept of leaving work at work and home at home. I mean, we're beings that can't necessarily all do that. So it depends on what work means to you, but to be able to like just turn it off when it's 5 o'clock or whatever, it's idealistic. So the idea here is to have an integration where you're able to be whole. And I think, and something you've mentioned earlier triggered also a thought is like, it's really identifying what your career and your job means to you. A lot of us have have their career as our identity. And that was what was hard for me because it was like, what am I if I'm not an HR manager? Who am I? Or I shouldn't say what, but who am I? And how does that who am I outside of work? And because if I met somebody who's like, hi, I'm Marilyne, I'm in HR, like that was the first thing. Yes, 2 kids and so on, but that was always the first thing. And I was proud of my career or I was working to something. And then realizing that that's no longer what I wanted it to be focused on, and having to kind of do that deep work to really get to know the things about me that had nothing to do with work, or why was I good at work, or things like that. So understanding what work means for you is huge because I think when you were talking about retirement, I think some people have a hard time with retirement because again, they've lost their sense of purpose.
Yeah.
For me, work has never been just work. It's been contributing. I've been working for organizations that need to have a purpose, and I wanted to make a difference and help people. So that's always very important for me to understand my why and things are my motivators. So I do a lot of work with motivations, a tool called motivational maps that I love to use because it's like, get to know what really drives you and what pushes you forward, and what truly like gets you into action or things that like will fulfill you in a different way that you've looked at before. That has nothing to do with your career, but will have an impact on your career. Sorry, I forgot a little bit what your question was, but I think it was about that whole concept of work-life harmony. And I think I do it in steps where it's seamless, but the thinking is that it's helping people understand that getting support, delegating things, seeking expert, even having a network, it's necessary. You can't you shouldn't do this on your own. You shouldn't. There's a lot of loneliness that goes with the way of feeling, with the unhealthy or bad about things, or in pain and all that. So you need a network, professional, personal, to be able to be successful. And then movement's the first step that I tell people. I get challenged sometimes about like, why is it not nutrition? I feel like nutrition, I mean, we're all eating. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. So we've been eating since we were born. I feel like adding something extra, because a lot of people I work with are not moving much, is finding that space and then realizing how impactful that can be. And then also kind of being in tune with the body and how it's reacting to the fact that it's going from basically sedentary to movement. So that's the first step. There's no downside to movement, to getting out for walks. Like there's just good things that can happen. Obviously there's limitations and things that people have, but there is ways to add movement. And that's always my first step. And then the second one is really unpacking those motivators and understanding like your values, your motivations, and to really build a solid plan that's going to work for you long term, that will take into account your career and also your wellness, how you want to feel, how you want to show up in the world, and how you want to experience life without having to wait for retirement to enjoy your life.
Yeah, brilliant. Because our careers can be fulfilling. I think a lot of people, perhaps like yourself, were being fulfilled by the career, but not necessarily happy because of it. You had that satisfaction from the way you were performing, the impact you had because of the organisations that you used to work for, and so on. But I think for many of us, certainly here in the UK, I think our culture generally has been one that, the way you're expected to go through school and college and university and get a job, it was very much about like the transactional side of it all rather than, and actually the thing you do in a job can be something really fulfilling. I think that's shifted, especially for Gen Z. I think as they're coming through, it's a different story. But I think many of us have missed that bit off and just get stuck in the work and the doing. And yeah, we've got goals about our earning potential or the position, level of authority that we get to and so on. But if we aren't fulfilled in doing that, then that's also chipping away our well-being, isn't it? And that can then impact our physical and mental health as well. So yeah, I think I love what you say about really working out who you are, what motivates you, what your values are, what your purpose is, and finding what will fulfill you. Certainly one of the things that I talk about a lot is the amount of women who are making big career changes in midlife, because when they hit that perimenopause phase, especially, and things start to become very turbulent, many women start to realize that this isn't where they want to be and that they aren't fulfilled. And, the struggles they have with their menopause symptoms is one part of it, but that also then often triggers questions around their job, their career, perhaps relationships and other parts of their life as well. But, we see a lot of women change career because they start to look at the fact they're midlife and it's a crossroads for them to go, well, if I stay where I am, I'm probably going to continue to feel unhappy and stressed and all of those other things. But if I can make a change before it's too late, then perhaps there is an opportunity for fulfillment. And is that something that you see as well? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think there's something to be said for like this whole, well, that you were talking about generational and how that trying to conceptualize the practical side, that stable earning, the pension, the benefits and all that with how it feels. And at some point, you're right, like it seems to be midlife. And what's unfortunate is I feel like those big decisions at some point, they come where it feels like she just feels like she has to make a decision because it's not working. And doing some more career wellness kind of approach beforehand could look at it, because the conclusion is often like, okay, I can't do this job anymore. But there may be ways to explore how that career that's been meaningful for so many years can still work, or to actually make that determination before things get too out of hand. Because a lot of, like I said, like the pressure of being a high performer is heavy. And then if somebody sees that their performance is kind of going down and they're no longer meeting the expectation, that's extremely hard for somebody, for a leader, for anybody that's high performer. And then to kind of attribute it, and then the first reaction was like, okay, then I need to make a change. Maybe this is not for me anymore. When all along, because if you've neglected your wellness, your health for so long, it has no other, the repercussions, there's a cost to it. And then at some point you start paying like pretty hefty price. And that may mean it's the equivalent to that big health event that triggers you to make a decision. So what you're explaining is that the equivalent within your career to say, oh, I can't do this anymore, it's not worth it. When really, and I want us to go back to something you said, is like, yes, there are some systemic issues, Canada, UK, I'm sure everywhere around the States for sure. Yes, the employer is responsible, but what I like to work with people is looking at what's within your control. What is it that you're able to explain? Because often it's that mechanism of giving the feedback, because an employer, which I get to work with on that side as well, but only knows what they know. They know the statistics of the usage of the benefits. They know the absence rate. They know what we're telling them as employees. But realistically, I think it boils down to, is the job reasonable? But when you're taking on and you're volunteering to take more on, and then things stay like that, and you're not expressing that that things are not going well because you're afraid that it's going to be perceived negatively for your performance, then this is just a big kind of vortex of you feeling bad, feeling like you should get more support from the employer. But the employer, the employer, what is the employer? It's a bunch of people, right? People that are trying to do their jobs and do the best that they can, all have pressures. So we always have to kind of understand, yes, the employers have to do better, but employers are people that struggle. I've seen hundreds of leaders, they're all struggling in their own ways to maintain their wellness, to maintain their, like, juggle their responsibilities. There's no real amazing book of this is how you do leadership, but this is how you approach this. And yeah, this is part of why I'm so passionate, because I know the first things first, your leadership team's got to be healthy. So give them space, give it, normalize that these people can take the flexibility that they have within their schedule to take care of themselves. Have them role model for their employees, their direct team members, and then look at their job, at everybody's job description. Can somebody reasonably do the job and maintain their wellness? Is the scope of the work too much? Is the volume of work too much? Look at all the stats that we have. And then you can also do the wellness things at work, which are like the policies and the programs and the benefits and all that is very aware. But I feel there's not much spoken about how having space and having an understanding that leaders need to take care of their health within organizations, and that if it's normalized at work, then it is. It's going to become the culture. So that's the thing, is people have to understand, the employer, especially people in leadership position, you are part of that. What do you have control over? And the beautiful thing is that wellness is on employee wellness is almost on every employer's objectives and strategic plan right now. Same with diversity and inclusion, things like that. So there's space for it. There's space for it to be better in that harmony. Like it's also like just being okay to say that it's going to be hard. I don't think anybody I've ever met being like, oh, I'm healthy, my job's perfect, like everything's balanced, So it's normal to have ebbs and flows, and I go back to needing support. You need a community. You need help to get there.
Yeah, and as you said, the workplace having a culture of well-being and prioritizing people's well-being in their team is really important and impactful. And then it's a lot of what you mentioned that someone can do around their job and in the workplace. And I guess for you as a HR professional, you would encourage someone to speak up to their HR team, to open up that conversation if they are struggling and feeling overwhelmed, stress, or maybe even have hit burnout.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, I've done several coaching certifications now, but it's also like being able to ask questions to understand the underlying issues, because most of us going through it, we don't know how to express it. It's the same thing as asking, what are your goals? Often, like when I started my wellness journey, what's your goals? I don't know what's reasonable. Like, I don't know. I haven't done this. I haven't been successful at this. So I don't know what my goal is. My goal was to be healthy. So, but you need goals to work towards. So it's again important to speak with people, to actually brainstorm and pull out and put the finger on really what is going on, because what's going to come out, just like your relationship issues or just like anything, it's going to be it's just a bad example, but like the things weren't put away, the trash wasn't taken out, none of the things that irritate you on the surface, but those are not the core issue. Those are not the real root cause. So getting to the root cause, and I don't know that anybody can do that on their own, by themselves, on themselves. That's why, coaching is so powerful, and in counseling too. But I mean, they all have different roles. It's like, it's really digging down and asking questions and looking at it from different perspective, and understanding that we have like a tunnel vision when we're looking at our own issue. And being challenged in certain ways to really understand what's going wrong, or what's going on, what's going right. I know I've been talking negatively, but there's what's going good. Like, what do you love about your job? What is going, like, what kind of wellness have you been able to maintain all these years, and kind of build on that, build on your successes as well.
So for someone listening who's thinking, yeah, I'm not taking very good care of myself and my job is very demanding, I do want to feel more fulfilled. And, there's a part of it that is like around the workplace and the job itself. But as an individual, I know that I need to take better care of myself. And that's ultimately a big part of what we're trying to share a message about, is that we have to take care of ourselves, not just to have that work harmony, but to be fulfilled in every part of our life. Because if we are unhealthy, like you shared in your story, we aren't going to be able to get what we want from life. Work is going to be harder, which, because it's such a big part of our life, means we are going to struggle in the rest of our life more and be probably less happy. And so the stronger and healthier we are as an individual, more we can be in harmony with work as well. It's kind of that ripple effect that's going to ripple out. So what would be 3 simple steps you would give someone to get started on their time and their way, so that they can then look at how their job and career is and do that reflection and find, what might be a priority to change to make everything else much better as well?
Yeah, no, that's very important. 3 steps, I would say, just recognize and be empathetic toward yourself and be kind. What helped me is looking back on what I was going through throughout all the years that I felt I let myself go, and kind of saying, okay, she did the best she could, like speaking about me in the third person, and just, yeah, look at yourself with the compassion you would look with a loved one, if someone else would have gone to where you're at, and if you're unhappy. So first thing is acceptance and realizing, but really also not ignoring that there's an issue. So it's facing it and saying, okay, I'm going to do something about it. Second thing is I'm bringing it back is just start moving. You don't need to analyze. There's just so many options when it comes to exercise, nutrition, weight loss, everything. There's just so much. But the one thing you can do without even starting to think is walking, or any form of exercise that you like. What's gonna or increase it if you're not consistent. So it's to consistently move. What that does, it makes you feel good. That's our goal in life. We all want to feel good. Once you feel good, it's easier to make other decisions. So we always talk about, you need to change your habits and mindset. How do you change habits and mindset? Like there's no magic wand. You have to dig deep, and it's hard. It's deep work. It's hard work. Mm-hmm. But in order to do that, you need to feel good. You need to be in a place where you feel good, and exercise is the key. Like there's no harm in doing it. You have to do it safely. Obviously, don't go. There's just a caveat. So that's step number 2. And like 3, like I said, it's really continuing the work of like looking at your own motivations, looking at your own self, and then building a plan, and I approach it like project management structure, really gather data, work with experts, build a plan, and then try. All of us in the corporate world have been part of projects. I would love for somebody to tell me, oh, mine went according to plan, exactly as I planned. So let's just put that same kind of lens and pressure on ourselves, or remove the pressure and say, okay, this is likely going to need adjustments. It's probably not going to work the first try. It's going to be, it could be 1 step forward, 2 step back. But the important thing is that we have, an idea where we're going. We have a plan, and we are consistently showing up. People that are hard workers and that are, just in the corporate world, you show up for work every day. You showed up for school and you did what you needed to do. You're consistent. You know how to do this. You know how to stick to things. So you're completely able to change your wellness and have some success. So that is planning and then executed. It's a little bit more than 3 steps, but that's overall, that's my approach. Yeah.
And you and I are so aligned on so much, which we knew already. But that last point, the way you explained it there, I was thinking, yeah, this is the thing for me that is completely missing when it comes to health and well-being with the general public, is it isn't approached in the way you've just explained. And that is why so many people, the majority in fact, fail to build those new habits to create lasting changes that improve their health, because they just jump right in. It's like you mentioned, I just want to be healthy. Well, what does that actually mean? But they just go at it from day one. I'm getting healthy. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And that's not sustainable. We can't change overnight. But there isn't that gradual approach, which is so common and normal in so many other areas of our life, whether it's deciding that you're going to have a baby and start a family. It's a bit like a project, isn't it? You have to decide what comes next, and maybe it's saving and, planning it ahead and so on. Buying a house, changing career, or working towards a new promotion, like all of those things we do take that approach to, but in our own health, we don't, and we get frustrated when we're not seeing results straight away and so on. So that emphasis on consistency that you've given is really something I would, just say to the listener to focus in on, is being consistent for yourself, with yourself, because you will then get those results. And we know we can do it in so many ways in other areas of our life. So apply it to this way as well. So I love those tips. Thank you.
Yeah, and the biggest part, which again we do in our job, is taking metrics and looking at those and tracking progress. It's key. Like, and when you work with other people, it can help you see progress where you wouldn't see it. Documenting, journaling, the how you felt on one day may seem silly, may seem like, but at least because there's going to be highs and lows. So on those lower days, you need something to look back to say, okay, I came this far. So whether it's some sort of form of collection of data, which is the same you would do in projects. It's having faith and believing that if you keep showing up, you will see results, because you will see results. There's nobody that, there's nothing to lose. And if you're not actively working at either maintaining your health or making your health better, you're probably regressing, you're losing, you're going further away from your goal of being healthy. So it's important to understand that not doing anything is not maintenance. It's actually getting unhealthier.
That's such a good point to make, because you're right. There is no finish line when it comes to our health. It is an ongoing journey, which for some people can feel scary, and because of the perception they have around what living healthy means. They see that as, something that's going to be a hardship. But you're right, if you aren't always taking actions to contribute to good health, then you aren't maintaining health, you are in decline. And that's what I think we miss a lot of the time, because it does take time, like it does, as you've explained, with the improvements, to see the results, to get the rewards. It's the same with those negative, bad, poor habits, whatever term you want to put on them. They also take time to show their effect. So in the meantime, it doesn't mean you're okay. It means you are moving towards whatever it is that's going to be the repercussion of living that way. So brilliant advice. So I'll pop everything from Marilyne into the show notes if you are interested in finding out more. But just to share with everyone, where is the best place for people to connect and find out more about the work that you do?
Yeah. So my company is Vitality with Marilyne. So Vitality with Marilyne, E at the end.com is my website. I'm very active on LinkedIn, also on Instagram, so you can find me there. But in the notes, maybe we can make sure the spelling is correct. So it's Marilyne, like Marilyn Monroe, with an E, which throws people off. My first language is French, so that was the intention, to make it French. The vitalitywithmarilyn.com. So again, big focus on career wellness, which is really integrating all of my years of HR experience and my passion for wellness and harmonizing it into an offer that to support people, especially people in leadership, to thrive and feel good.
Which is so much needed. And if you are listening and maybe you're a leader, or perhaps just the place that you work, you're thinking there isn't much support being offered, and I don't feel as though we do have a culture that's emphasising and encouraging good wellbeing. Speak up, have that conversation, as Marilyne shared, with your HR. Maybe that's quite a bold thing to do, but we are talking about our lives here, and have that conversation and reach out to one of us as well if you wanted to find out more about working with your organisation, because we do need to be having these conversations and letting your leaders know how the team is feeling as well, because as you said, often that isn't fully visible and understood. The metrics are not always giving, that nuance to what's really going on the ground, so to speak. So
Exactly.
thank you so much for your time, Marilyne. It's been lovely to chat, and I've really enjoyed, picking into your story a little bit more and unwrapping how you've created your healthy life.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. Thanks, Nicola.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining today. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please remember to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. It would be massively appreciated if you could leave a rating and review to help other women discover the podcast and build their own healthy, happy life. If you're struggling with the changes perimenopause is bringing your way and you're ready to reclaim your vitality, to embrace this new chapter of your life with confidence and joy, then why not download our free guide, 10 Ways to Feel Good Again, your perimenopausal revival guide. Inside, you'll get 10 proven ways to enhance your well-being and rediscover the joy of living life to the fullest. And we all want to live a great life, don't we? So download your free guide now at lifenowcoaching.uk/feel good again. The link is in the show notes. You can follow Life Now Coaching on Instagram and LinkedIn and visit our website at lifenow.uk. All of the links are in the show description. I really hope you've enjoyed today's topic and conversation and can't wait to have you back again next week for more tips on living healthy and happy right now. Take care.